Hello and a very warm welcome. You're watching In Your Interest with me, Shweta Kothari. Our story at this hour continues to be the debate triggered by Rahul Gandhi's statement on India's manufacturing. Congress leader Rahul Gandhi just wrapped up a visit to BMW manufacturing plant in Munich in Germany. He walked through world-class automobile assembly lines, watching precision engineering in action, and came back with a stark message for India. He stated that manufacturing in India is the backbone of an economy, including India as an economy, and argued that India's manufacturing sector is currently declining. His prescription is that we need a massive push for domestic production to create large-scale quality jobs. It's a strong political statement, but it also demands a factual reality check. Is the sector actually shrinking, or is the picture more complex?
So the BMW factory, fantastic experience, and I was particularly excited to see that they've got a 450cc bike that TVS has made with them. So I think that's going to do well. Good to see that Indian flag is flying there.
This is electric.
हम इंडिया से है पर दुबई रहते हैं तो इधर घूमने आए हैं और इन्होंने आपको देखा ये सौ भी बैठ के राहुल गांधी
India needs to start producing. Production is the key for the success of any country, and our manufacturing is declining. It should actually be going up. Thank you.
Let's take a look at the full picture and the big numbers here. India's manufacturing is looking robust because factory activity is in fact firmly in expansion territory. Even if growth has cooled from recent highs, the latest HSBC manufacturing PMI reading is still well above the 50 mark, hovering in the mid-50s after touching close to 60 earlier this year, which signals that the new orders, output and employment are all rising. Put simply, Indian businesses and factories are still busy, capacity is being added, and the sector is growing faster than many global peers at a time when manufacturing in Europe and parts of Asia is staring at contraction. At the same time, manufacturing share in India's GDP, while modest at 16 to 17%, still sits slightly above the global average and is now backed by clear policy and investment push. Large PLI-linked investments in electronics, autos, renewable as well as defence, along with government targets to lift manufacturing share towards a 23 to 25% over the next 2 decades, meaning that this base is gradually deepening rather than shrinking. So while manufacturing is still a smaller slice of India's GDP than government wants, but the PMI data shows that that slice is healthy, expanding and increasingly central to India's long-term growth plans.
उनकी जानकारी में नहीं है कि भारत के अंदर मैन्युफैक्चरिंग सेक्टर पिछले 3 साल में लगातार ग्रो किया है और आज दुनिया भर में जो गाड़ियां हैं हमारे यहाँ से मैन्युफैक्चर होकर दुनिया भर में जाती हैं, परंतु लगातार झूठ बोलना और निराधार बात करना उनकी आदत हो चुकी है.
We are looking at the positives of this visit to Germany. Mr. Gandhi is visiting Germany on the invitation of the Progressive Alliance, an important alliance of 117 progressive parties of the world, of which 30 are in power. He has been invited to the presidium of the Progressive Alliance, and I believe that his contribution there, as indeed it was at the Bharat Summit where the Progressive Alliance was delighted to meet with him, I think his contribution will be enormous.
But is India really manufacturing at scale? In electronics and semiconductors, we're the world's second largest mobile phone makers, with Apple supply chain now shifting mostly to India from China. In electronic and electric vehicle segment, as well as auto components, Tata and Ola are leading the EV push, aiming for a 30% market penetration by 2030. Pharmaceuticals and biotechnology make us the pharmacy of the world, with $50 billion in exports and global vaccine dominance. In aerospace and defense, we have Tejas fighters, HAL, Boeing tie-ups, and drone exports up 50% year-on-year. Renewable energy equipment is scaling up towards the 500 gigawatt clean energy goal. Medical devices and precision engineering are localizing post-COVID with GE healthcare hubs. Metals and advanced materials, including EV-grade steel and green steel pilots, signal a shift to low-carbon industry in India. Yet, there is a structural shift that still is needed and much needed in months to come and years to come. Currently, manufacturing contributes to about 15 to 17% of the GDP, while services make up for 55% of the GDP and 80% of the exports. Job creation skews towards high-skilled workers, and youth unemployment stands at about 8 to 10%. Services-led growth has dominated since 1990s. What India requires today is manufacturing at scale and ensure that manufacturing goes up to about 25% of the GDP with focus on labor-intensive factories. We need services growth with wider job absorption along with strong skills, vocational training and R&D. A hybrid model combining manufacturing, services and agriculture is essential. But no one-size-fits-all growth can work for India. China achieved scale through manufacturing with high output but lower per capita income. The United States built wealth through services and innovation, delivering high productivity and high per capita income. Japan followed a balanced precision model with advanced manufacturing at about 20% and quality-focused stable incomes. The reality is that imitation fails in economic policy. A China-style obsession might spread wealth too thin, while a US-style services model does not generate enough mass employment for a country of our size. Countries grow by playing to their strengths and not by copying others. India likely requires a hybrid model, one that scales manufacturing to 25% of the GDP to absorb labor while continuing to power the world through services. So the big questions we're asking tonight: can India push manufacturing to 25% of the GDP without sacrificing its services export edge? PMI shows factory growth, but semi-skilled jobs actually are being created. But will automation do away with it? And more importantly, is Rahul Gandhi's Germany comparison valid for India's scale and demographics? And does India need a homegrown hybrid model? Let's talk about that. Joining us on the show is Bhavya Narasimhamurthy. He's the spokesperson for Congress Party. Also with us is Dr. Harinder Tayal, spokesperson for the BJP. Dr. Sharad Kohli, senior economist, founder KCC Group. And also with us is Sampratham, S. Sampratham, who's the former chairman, AIMO, All India Manufacturing Organization. Thank you very much, all of you, for taking time out for joining us on the show. Let me first come to the economics part of it. And Dr. Sharad Kohli, as I mentioned, it's a very complex picture. It will not be fair to say whether India is slowing down at this point, given, all the vagaries of economics. Would you agree with what Rahul Gandhi said?
Good evening, Shweta. Good evening to my fellow panelists and News9 viewers. I think there is a fact check required, and the numbers are very evident. From 2014 to 1947 to 2014, 67 years, we reached $2 trillion of GDP. And I'm being very apolitical. I'm just looking at numbers. And from 2014 to 2025, we are now $4 trillion plus. So I think nothing much needs to be said. What we did in 67 years, we've pretty much done that in the last 11 years, thanks to the growth of manufacturing and services sector. The government of India did launch Make in India in 2015, 2016. The lion logo initially did not roar the way probably we wanted to, but now it's roaring like anything. I think there is a complete fact check required, because our manufacturing PMI, which was on your screen, which is very healthy. It oscillates between 55 to 60. And interestingly, the world's factory, which is China, we all know what is world's factory, their PMI economy, with services dominating, about 60% of our population being dependent on agriculture, whereas contribution of agriculture being low. That how was this structure built over all these 7 to 8 decades after our independence? This structure and the effort to change this structure, Shweta, to a structure which is primarily manufacturing, that is try and make it reach 25% as a contributor. I think that is a transitional process. It's going to take time. And I think we are gradually, the numbers you revealed are absolutely evident of what we are doing, whether it's electronics, it's defense, it's pharma, it's semiconductor chips. There are at least 6 semiconductor chip units in the process. And imagine when all of these 6 start firing from the engines, we would be in a very, very dominating position.
Okay.
So I'm not sure, because Mr. Gandhi must have been impressed by what BMW was doing within its factory. And probably he was trying to imagine that back home. And a very interesting point, Shweta, before I sign off and you go to the next panelist, is that so that I know that Mr. Gandhi has substantial investments in mutual funds. This is all in public domain, because you have to disclose as a member of parliament. Now, his investments have grown significantly over the last decade or so. And a lot of these mutual funds, they have invested in manufacturing companies. So how did these investments give those fantastic returns if these manufacturing companies, who are in turn, contributors to the mutual fund, have not grown over the last few years? So, there is a bit of contradiction also here, Shweta, which I see.
Okay, thank you for putting that across. S. Sampathraman, if I were to ask you, given the current amount of data that we have as far as PMI is concerned, although it's been expanding now, it has been hovering at about 60. It is gradually slowing down, and that's the observation that we've made on the basis of the data for the last couple of months. Would you agree that manufacturing is still as robust as it was perhaps at the start of this year, or is Rahul Gandhi right in saying that there has been some sort of slowdown?
Everything is taken from a different perspective than the economic perspective by Rahul Gandhi. I totally disagree with him.
Okay.
Our economy is growing. GST collection, April to November, year on year, is 8-9% higher. Only thing is, between October and November, it is just 0.7% higher. There is a little problem because of the tariff difficulties.
Yeah, but he didn't mention GST, sir, and he didn't mention economy. He specifically said
he
manufacturing.
He may not mention GST. Sorry, he may not mention GST. I am giving you.
But he never said India's economy is not growing. So, is manufacturing growing? That's my question, sir.
Sir, madam, I am giving a measure for the growth of the economy. If the economy doesn't grow, how do I get a higher GST collection? Of course, some part of it is going to the import GST. That is another point. The only grouse of mine is, if an economist says or a politician says that economy is going down, it actually goes down. We should never talk about recession. We should talk something positive. That mindset is what is going to make our country grow.
Mr. Sampathraman, as a journalist and as a citizen of this country, I don't necessarily agree with you. If you don't point at something that is missing, you can never make it better. You can only come up with a solution once you identify a problem, sir. It goes against every basic instinct of mine as a journalist. But the question is, and I'm going to go back to the moot point, it's about manufacturing specifically. And let me quickly get in Congress spokesperson on the show. Bhavya, the data is contrary to what...
Give me 1 minute.
So I will come back to you. Bhavya, the data is contrary to what Rahul Gandhi is saying. The data clearly suggests that the share of manufacturing in India's economy, and I'm an economic policy journalist, has remained stable. If anything, it has only grown. It's currently at about 17%. And that is exactly the share of manufacturing for any other major developing economy in the world. In fact, we are far ahead of global average.
So the topic of this debate, in the beginning, I saw it was about Make in India. Before I speak anything, and you presented facts, so let me also present some facts about Make in India, because that's one of the noisy policies of Narendra Modi, economic policy, which was more like foreign optics than economy. Why? I'm going to present some facts. When this Make in India was, which was actually a repackaging of UPA's economic policy, but any manufacturing policy, but anyways, they wanted India's GDP to be 25%, manufacturing contribution to GDP to be 25% by 2022. But even in 2025, I mean, the target was increased to 2025, but last year it was only 13% of GDP, manufacturing contribution. So, Make in India's disaster. Second point. When it comes to jobs, please don't interrupt me.
Okay,
there are two more facts I really want to give. When it comes to jobs, it was promised there will be generation of 10 crore job in this sector before 2022. And guess what? 5.1 crore job in 2016-17 was reduced to 2.7 crore jobs in 2020-2021 year. That is after the disastrous demonetization of Narendra Modi's one of the policies. One more thing, very important thing. You know, when it comes to manufacturing, the very backbone of manufacturing is the infrastructure. Guess what? World Bank has a identifier for this. It's called gross fixed capital formation, which is a direct measure of investment in productive assets. It was 36% in 2007 and was reduced to 30% in 2024. It is reduced right now. That means when you are targeting a manufacturing sector to, you know, boost it, you are just talking about today's number, comparing it with a year before this and before this. But no, has this Make in India succeeded in achieving its goals? No. And with all respect to the economist here, Dr. Sharad, you spoke about mutual funds. But how many MSMEs who actually suffered the consequences of demonetization and GST, the direct sufferers of GST and demonetization, are on mutual funds? Do you even know that access to credit is just 20%, whereas the China that you were comparing has 37% access to credit for their MSMEs? Do you even know how many people lost jobs in MSME? How many had to close down their factories? MSME, to be honest, it is the backbone of India's manufacturing sectors. It contributes to almost 36% of GDP. 36% of what manufacturing contributes to GDP. In that, 36% has been contributed by MSMEs. Don't you even think about the small manufacturers? Is it always about those big, like Adani? Rahul Gandhi also speaks about monopoly.
I don't think these parallels work in economics. Okay. Bhavya, a lot there you said that I disagree with.
I'm just talking
there
about
is a lot
Make
you
in
said.
India of
There is
Narendra Modi and his
you want to give me you want to throw facts at me? I'll throw facts at you. India is growing. India is one of the fastest growing major economies of the world. Every public financial institutions out there will say so. Our second quarter growth is at about 8%. Our overall financial year 2026 growth is far better than what we predicted. But I'm not going to do that.
I agree. The people?
I agree, ma'am.
Is it reaching the people, the growth of India?
Ma'am.
What about the equality and the gap?
You can't, you and I are...
It's easy to just, make facts speak for us, right?
With due respect, ma'am, you have the right to an opinion, and fair enough. I take it with all regards. I'm going to. I simply disagree with a lot that you have to say, but that's for later. Let me quickly get to Mr. Dr. Tayal here, who's also been patiently waiting. Dr. Harinder Tayal, spokesperson for the BJP. Dr. Tayal, how would you respond to Bhavya when she says that despite all the hullabaloo around Make in India, it does appear that there is a massive problem with unemployment, and unemployment is directly got to do with the fact that manufacturing sector in this country hasn't produced enough jobs, and that today we should have been at about 25% of the GDP, but we are still at 17%. So manufacturing sector hasn't expanded at a rate that your party thought it will.
Thank you so much, Shweta. First of all, I don't envy Bhavya ji her job today, because the Crown Prince will go and say what he has to say, and then you have to defend the indefensible. He's the same person who sometime back said it's a dead economy. I mean, nobody in their wildest imaginations could have, even believe what he said. But I do not know what are the compulsions of Mr. Rahul Gandhi, and particularly when he goes abroad, I think Supreme Court is right somewhere when it questions that are you even a true Indian? So I mean, but I agree with you when you say that, okay, if there are deficiencies, they need to be brought up. But if there are deficiencies, they need to be brought up. But if you're going to lie through your ears. Now, let me, since we are talking about pure data, but just one line before pure data, I think manufacturing has failed Mr. Gandhi because he had given a task to manufacturing in India to produce a machine जिसमें एक तरफ से आलू डालो दूसरी तरफ से सोना निकले. We have not been able to do that.
This is fine for you. This is factual for you. This is not his opinion.
Please, ma'am, I heard you. I heard you very patiently.
So
Okay, Dr. Dayal, let's stick to facts.
Debate because you can't counter me with facts.
Dr. Dayal, let's stick to
You
facts.
want a
Fair
narrative.
enough.
You can't counter me with facts.
Fair
You're
enough.
lost.
Okay, fair
You're
enough.
lost.
I think Dr. Dayal, this is not social media. We'll save our jibes and memes for social media. Let's talk on facts.
What we inherited was a fragile 5 economy. We are in the top 5, getting to be top 3. Something must be right. Hard data. 1, taste of the pudding is in eating. FDI in the period 2014 to 25 was $748 billion, whereas it was only 308 billion in 2003 to 14. It has gone up 143%. Let me come to manufacturing because you're talking about manufacturing. Let me come to manufacturing. FDI. Please have patience. Manufacturing FDI in the past 1 year alone has jumped from 16.12 billion to 19.04 billion, up 18%. The taste of the pudding is in eating. If the world is willing to invest their money in Indian manufacturing, something here must be right. Let's look at, since we've been talking about electronics, let's talk about electronics, and I'll give you the numbers. In 2000, this is numbers from 2014-15 and 24-25.
Okay.
Electronics production was 1.9 lakh crores. It is 11.3 lakh crores, up 600%. The mobile manufacturing units were 2, now they are 300.
Okay. So
exports, just let me complete this data, please.
Right.
Export of electronics goods was 38,000 crores. It is 3.27 lakh crores, up 800%. Production is up 2,800%. Exports is up 12,700%. That's manufacturing.
Okay.
The Indian farmer caters to 50% of the world's vaccines.
I have to ask you, Dr. Dharinder.
Of US generics.
All right. So since you are giving out numbers, I have to ask you, given all of these numbers and all the growth that we have seen, and let me also take this question to Dr. Sharad Kohli. Dr. Sharad Kohli, one of the criticism of this government has been, despite all the growth in data, numbers, manufacturing, services, exports, there is a constant job problem, and that job problem can only be catered to when we start producing at scale, manufacturing at scale, and we still not been able to do that for some reason and for some obstacles that are unforeseen.
Well, Shweta, as an economist, I would not say that everything is hunky-dory. But my respected, panelist, the spokesperson of Congress Party, Bhavya, I think we need to have the facts and numbers right. The share of manufacturing is not 13%, it's 17%. You're also indicating that by saying it's not 13%, So you cannot give wrong numbers. No, hang on. You said 13. Unemployment rate, well, I agree that
it was supposed to be 25. Anyways, it was supposed to be 25.
I didn't interrupt you, Bhavya. I could have interrupted you. I could have interrupted you. I did not interrupt you.
Thank you.
I did not interrupt you. I don't come from politics. I'm an apolitical person. I only look at numbers. I only look at numbers.
Right.
Now, unemployment numbers came a couple of days ago. 4.7%. You'll be surprised that America's unemployment rate is 4.6%. We are a very largely populated country. We are 1.4 billion people. So it'll be unfair to draw a comparison with America, but at least on percentage terms, we are having amongst lowest employments of the recent times. I would not say that the problem of unemployment and problem of income gap between rich and the poor has disappeared. It's a very large country. It's geographically large. It's very diversified. We cannot solve the problems overnight. But what I'm trying to say is that we are moving in the right direction. To say that the glass is half empty at all times, I think is not correct. I would advise, see, I don't come from a political background, but I would advise my learned and respected Congress people that when something is right, you should call it right. But when something is wrong, you call it wrong. But when you call the right thing wrong, you lose your credibility.
Not to get satisfied with 17%. Sorry to say this,
but can
Make in India,
sorry.
the task was 25%. Dr. Sharad,
I'm giving.
Make in India was, you're giving facts.
You don't need to argue with. You don't need. I'm giving you facts and numbers, Bhavya. I am giving you facts and numbers as a citizen of the country. Please listen to me as a citizen of the country. You're not listening to me as a citizen of the country. I'm telling you the pulse. I'm telling you the pulse of people. I'm telling you the pulse of people.
Sharad Kohli, unfortunately, speaking over each other, both of you continue to speak over each other. Nobody is any wiser. So here's...
I didn't speak when she was speaking. She spoke while I was speaking. I'm just telling the pulse of a people as a common citizen, in one sentence, that when you call the right thing right, you don't want to call the right thing right. You want to call the right thing wrong. And when it's wrong, you call. But when you call the right thing wrong, you lose your credibility. You lose your credibility. That's all. That's the only point. That's it.
You know, I have to. I've completely run out of time. I have to sum up this show. But I must say, while we end the show,
I have to respond to them.
Bhavya, okay, 30 seconds, Bhavya. That's all the time I have.
Yes, the FDI you spoke about, or even, you know, the employment rate that you people spoke about. Let me be very honest, as a credible economist that you call yourself, sir, please speak something relevant to manufacturing. FDI, in which companies have they invested in MSMEs? What about the jobs, unemployment you're talking about?
I spoke about FDI in manufacturing. Invested in young
manufacturing.
Look at FDI figures for manufacturing.
Look at iPhones.
Yes, they do not invest in young India.
You know, I think, with due respect to all the guests here, I'm no economist, Dr. Sharad Kohli is, but one thing is clear. No growth is achieved in a day or two. In this case, the ruling government over the last 10 years has a track record of a sustained economic momentum, and that's what I believe all the economists will agree with. We still have a very long way to go and a very difficult path to chart ahead for ourselves as far as manufacturing is concerned and jobs is concerned. But credit where it's due as far as India's growth and its economic momentum is concerned. The world is taking notes. But that's all the time I have on the show. Thank you very much, everyone, for joining us. And thank you to our viewers. Thanks for watching.
एसोसिएट स्पॉन्सर बैंक ऑफ बड़ौदा से लोन लेना एक मास्टर स्ट्रोक है.
Okay, 2026, take notes. Manifesting. More bubbles, less trouble.